incumbent on us to be worried about the Muslim community in general. There is a hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that goes along the lines of, and it was narrated by both Sunni and Shia, whoever goes to bed not worrying about the Muslims is not one of them. So you have to be worried about the Muslim community. So inshallah ta'ala, we will encompass that in our life. And for all people who are worried about the Muslim community, especially the two who asked me to talk about Zakat al-Fitra, we give thawab of loud salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajah.
Zakat al-Fitra is part of Zakat. And Zakat is one of the furu' al-Din, the main wajibat that every Muslim have to deliver, including the most known 10 wajibat: Salah, Sawm, Hajj, Zakah, Khums, Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi al Munkar, Tawalli, Tabarri, and Jihad. Those 10 are, we teach them all the time, the furu' of the Deen. Actually, there are so many other wajibat, but these are the most known and most important wajibat. I think there are about 250,000 wajibat. There are so many. Our ulama listed about 200 or maybe 250,000. These are the most important thing. So Zakatul Fitra is one of zakah. Now, Zakatul Fitra is so important that I think it was Imam Sadiq alayhi salam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Yes, it was Imam Sadiq said, "Inna min tamami as-sawm i'ta'u az-zakah." The completion of Sawm is to give away Zakatul Fitra. In other words, a person who doesn't give Zakat doesn't have Sawm. So it's the completion or the perfection of your Sawm. So Zakatul Fitra, we know, is an amount that is paid after Shahr Ramadan for the poor and the needy. As with any other wajib, it starts with the niyyah. The niyyah for zakah, and not just Zakatul Fitra, any zakah, the niyyah is qurbatan ila Allah ta'ala, qurbat, to bring you closer to Allah. Or in other words, to adhere to Allah's order and to comply with the pleasures of Almighty Allah. Now, who gives Zakatul Fitra? It's incumbent on every adult who is sane and has provisions for the entire year to set aside Zakatul Fitra for himself and his dependents. Actually, I will write something on the board because every word of those is very important. We said, number one, niyyah for zakat. Fitra is qurba. Now, how should pay? We call it Fitra for short. Every adult, meaning they are in the age of taklif. Sane, meaning they are conscious, not insane, but also conscious. Like not in maybe if someone is say have paralysis. Sorry, they are in a coma, or maybe they are going for surgery, or if they have epilepsy. And during the time of Fitra, which we will talk about from the Maghrib until next day, they are Eid, they will maybe gone, they didn't have their sanity, they don't have to pay it. There is one that is not mentioned here, but is mentioned in the books of Fiqh, like Minhaj al-Salihin, free, meaning not slave. And who has the provisions for the year. In other words, not poor or needy. We will pause at here and talk about it a little bit. Who has the provision for the other year? In Islam, generally, a person is called poor or needy if they don't have the provisions for their year. So what does that mean? To have the provision for the year is that for you and for your family or everyone who is dependent on you, you have what's enough to make them survive for the whole year. And to survive meaning food, shelter, clothes. If they got sick, you can take them, give them medicine and everything. Provision for a year could come in many forms. Number one, you might have enough money, either in cash or in bank or whatever. Number two, you might have the a'yan, meaning the actual food and the clothes and medicine. So you actually have a big store of food, clothes and medicine, you're sure. Or you have the ability to work and provide for a year. So actually, many people, they don't have enough money to survive the whole family for a year. But they have their health, they have a good job, a steady job, they are able to work, and reasonably they can say, inshallah, I will be able to manage to support my whole family for a whole year. Obviously, the ability to work is different according to the kind of work. Someone who does manual labor, if they broke their leg, they can't work anymore, they don't have the ability, meaning they don't have the provision, meaning they are now legally poor. Okay? Someone who works at a desk job, say a computer engineer or whatever, if they broke their leg, they still can do work, so they have the ability to do poor. So when we talk about poor, and why I stop here, because it will be important for us to realize what is a poor person and what is not, because number one, non-poor person has to pay zakat. Number two, the zakat will go to a poor person. So when you are planning where to pay it, actually, when we say you pay it to the poor and the needy, it doesn't mean they have to come in, dirty clothes and they don't have a place to stay. They actually might be I know uncles and cousins back in Syria who, and I'm sure you have a similar situation in Pakistan. The father of the family has a job, but at the end of every month, like 5 years into the end of the month, they start going around borrowing some money. Or maybe they can survive fine, but if a child gets hit by a car or, God forbid, something bad happens, then they have no way to support them. Even you see them like they have their own house, they have nice clothes and everything, but they don't have provisions for a whole year. That means they are, according to Islamic jurisprudence, they are poor. So everyone who has the provision for a year has to pay zakat. Okay. So, for whom do we pay zakah? We pay it, every one of you. You pay it for yourself and for every person who is dependent on yourself. A dependent is someone who you are supporting, be it your wife and kids, family members, sometimes the father, mother, they are old, they live with you. They don't have to live in your house, maybe they live in their own house, but you spend on them. They rely on you, every dependent. Okay, Sayyid Sistani say they have to pay for himself and his independence, be they members of his immediate family or others, and be they children or adults, including those guests who arrive on the eve of Eid or after it has set in. I want to talk about guests. Look, we have dependents who are not guests. We have guests who are not dependents, and we have dependents and guests. So it's important to realize the difference. Here we have dependents. Includes the wife, the kids. Are the kids guests? Obviously not. Here we have guests. If you have someone over for iftar and they are on their way, okay, so iftar only. They are a guest. They are not dependent on you. Okay, on the night of Eid, they're not dependent on you. But if for some reason they stayed overnight, they say, look, come have iftar with us, and then you sleep at our house. Next day we wake up, we go to the mosque together or whatever, to Salatul Eid. So if they stayed overnight, these are both guests and dependents, because that night they are under your roof and they are dependent on you. Now, saying they have to be under your roof is a little bit misleading. It's actually very intuitive. If you are the one who's supporting them, then they are your dependents. If they just pass by to have dinner, they're not, even if they stayed after dinner, but they are going to go on their way. Let me give you an example of someone who is a guest and a dependent. Say someone arrived from a journey, they are travelers, okay, and they are staying in a hotel, but you are paying for the hotel. So who is actually who are they relying on? They are your dependents. You are the one supporting them. So it doesn't have to be in your house. Generally, if it's about them sleeping overnight, then it is they become dependents. For example, tomorrow I am traveling, inshallah, to Liverpool. I'm really doing that. I'm going to a friend, and I will sleep at his house tomorrow. So inshallah ta'ala, I will have iftar at his house because obviously tomorrow we have fasting and I am traveling after Zawal. I will do Salat al-Zuhr and then travel, so I will fast tomorrow. So I will do iftar at his house and I will stay overnight. So when the morning of Eid, Saturday morning, arrives, I will be a dependent on him. Okay, he will be supporting me. So he will pay Zakat al-Fitra for me. Okay? So now, don't just go around and say to people, don't come to my house last night of Eid Shahr Ramadan because I don't want to pay Zakat for you. Because you don't have to. Okay? You don't have to. So it says, even if they come before Maghrib, and it was the time of Maghrib, fast, while they are at your house, they're not necessarily dependent on you. Okay? If they say, for example, look, there was an accident and my house is, or I had a fight with the missus and I need to stay at your house, then they become a dependent on you, and then you have to pay Fitra. And Fitra is not a big deal, so don't just tell people not to come so you don't have to pay it. Okay.
In that case, do you pay as well, or just the other person pays?
No, you have to pay.
So you pay and they pay as well?
No, only you. Only you. If they are dependent, like your child doesn't pay. You pay for him. Your wife, she doesn't. And the guest, they don't pay. You pay for the guest.
So the guest doesn't pay at all?
No. See, that's
so what about if host, they don't know anything about these kind of rules, or if they don't pay, how do you make sure like they have paid it or not?
If you stay at someone and they don't pay,
Each other.
Force them to pay.
the question,
Because wajib.
look, the taklif for you, the wajib for you is, if you are supporting yourself, you have to pay. If you are at someone else, it is their problem. It's not your problem.
What happens if you pay and they don't pay?
You paying is not required. So actually you're paying something that is not required. It's like doing 2 rak'ah of nafi. It's not going to harm, but they will still have to pay. Actually, no one can do wajib on behalf of another as long as they're alive. And we will come into that later. Now, you have to pay for everyone dependent, be it the wife, a kid, or be it, they say, a slave, if you have slaves, servants, be it an adult, a young, be it sane or insane, be it a Muslim or even a kafir. If you have a servant, and we have those in my country, people come from Sri Lanka, for example, they serve at the houses. We never had one, but some people have. Or if you have someone who is working for you, say a Christian, a Jew, whatever, no matter their religion, you have to pay Zakat, Fitra for everyone that you support. Okay? So, let's say a guest arrived before Maghrib and they stayed at your house for the next day. Do you have to pay for them Zakat Fitra?
Yes.
Yes. Let's say they arrived after Maghrib and they stayed. Do you have to pay Zakat al-Fitra?
Yes.
Yes. Here Sayyid Sistani says the first one is fatwa, the second is ihtiyat wujubi. Same effect, but different reasoning. Now, let's say they arrived at your house and they weren't dependent on you. Can you pay it as ihtiyat istihbabi? What is ihtiyat? precaution, mustahab precaution. What do you call it? Not obligatory precaution. The other kind of precaution, mustahab, ihtiyat istihbabi. You can pay it. In other words, you can pay it, but it's an extra. You don't have to. Okay, here's a fatwa. Sayyid Sistani was asked, I invited some people to have iftari with me at the night of Eid, and they're not going to stay overnight and sleep at my house. In fact, they are going to go back to their houses. Do I have to pay Zakatul Fitra? He said, no, you don't. One final rule, let's say the wife is pregnant. Do I have to pay Zakatul Fitra for the fetus, the unborn? No, only unless they are born. There is there is actually some details I'm not going to bore you with, but ulama discuss whether they were born before Maghrib or after Maghrib or at night. So if you are interested, if they are born before Maghrib, it is wajib to pay. After Maghrib until next day, it is mustahab. Until Salatul Zuhr next day, it is mustahab to pay it. Obviously, if they're born on the day of Eid after Salatul Zuhr, there is no zakat. Okay, when do you pay Zakatul Fitra? Zakatul Fitra has to be set aside on the eve of Eid. For example, Eid is on a Saturday, so we have to set it aside tomorrow in the evening. Okay? Or on the day of Eid, or on Saturday. When? For those who do Salatul Eid, it has to be before Salatul Eid. And for those who don't do Salatul Eid, it has to be set aside before Zawal or before Dhuhr prayer. Okay, so here we, I'm going to write it very quickly. Here we have, let's say, the 13th of Ramadan. And here we have Eid day. Okay? This is night time on the 13th of Ramadan. You have to set it aside from this time, from the night time up until Salatul Eid. Or if you don't pay Salatul Eid, from evening until Salat Zuhr. So you have enough time. That majority of all the ulama, they used to say this is the exact time. Some people want to pay it early. And it is actually a good practice to pay it early because, the poor and the needy might want to, go and buy stuff with it. On the day of Eid, usually the shops are closed. So that's why people started to pay it early. That's why people started paying Zakatul Fitra early. When do they pay it? They pay it during the whole month of Ramadan. In the olden times, they used to say, make the niyyah as a debt. Rent the money, loan the money to the poor. Obviously, you don't tell them, you just give them the money. But in your heart, the niyyah is, this is a loan for the poor. And on the night or on the morning of Eid, you change the niyyah from a loan to Zakatul Fitra. That is not needed. According to Sayyid Khou'i and Sayyid Sistani. According to Sayyid Khou'i and Sayyid Sistani, you can pay it from the first day of Ramadan until this time, or until that time, if you do, with the niyyah of Zakatul Fitr. The whole month of Ramadan. Like even from today, I can pay it with the niyyah of Zakat al-Fitr, although it is not. So how? This is the time when it becomes wajib. But this is not the exclusive time when it becomes wajib. That's how they say Sistani Sayyid Khou'i said you can pay it earlier. Okay?
So it's only the uncertainty that if someone arrives, you have an extra obligation
Yes.
to pay.
That is why I already informed the person I'm going to. I told him, look, you might want to pay it now, but make the niyyah as a loan, and then can change the niyyah because he doesn't follow Sayyid Sistani, neither Sayyid Khou'i. So I was, trying to help as much as possible. So, okay. Now, we said you have to pay it the last time, you have to pay it at this time. If you, for example, did Salatul Eid and didn't pay it, so you are over time, or you didn't do Salatul Eid and you didn't pay it until after Zawal, okay, now you have committed a sin, by the way. You still have to pay it. The best thing you do is that set it aside immediately. Okay? We will come to the amount of it. Let's say it's about £5. Immediately set aside £5 and don't even use it or think about using it. Actually, there's a problem even in using that £5 if you want to change. Just take it and put some change. So don't touch it, meaning don't use it at all and don't even break it down or whatever. Because when you set it aside, now you have £5, you have purified your money and you have effectively almost paid the zakat by setting it aside. If you didn't, you know what the problem is? If you didn't, then everything you wear, you eat, you use from your money is impure. Part of it is mal maghsoob, haram money. But it's not yours. See? It's important to pay it, and if you don't pay it, set it aside. Even for past years. For example, if I didn't pay it last year, okay, I am way over time. So what I do immediately, I set it aside, okay, and then I can pay it inshallah. Now, some people don't pay it on this time or on that time. They, for example, have a reason to postpone paying it, waiting for a specific person, or they know there is an event that they will pay it in that event. So there is a reason why they will postpone it. That is fine, as long as they set it aside. So you can actually, according to Sayyid Sistani, on the day of Eid in the morning, set it aside, okay, and you pay it later, 1 or 2 days later. That is not a sin. The sin is to not set it aside until the time has passed. So, can you postpone it after the time? Yes, if there's a reason, if you are waiting for somebody specific, for example, they're arriving from a travel, or you are going to go over to their place to pay it for them, that's fine.
Now one question. Now, like you said that you are coming to Liverpool tomorrow. So if you stayed in a hotel, then of course you wouldn't have to...
No, I am supporting myself. I will still have to pay it.
Of course you have to pay.
Yes.
But not a friend.
No, not my friend. Only if he is supporting me and I am dependent on him on that time.
And on the money, you said you have to set it aside.
Yes.
If you set aside cash and then later on you want to send it through account transfer, what do you do with that? Do you just transfer from the account, or do you transfer that money cash? Because a lot of things here, you said you give in the poor countries, you just set cash aside and you give the cash to some poor person.
Yeah.
And here normally the poor persons are in the Asian countries.
That's an interesting question. Actually, I don't have the answer, but I will write it down, and inshallah I will find the answer.
So is
Or you can do.
I suppose it's the same, because if you took £5 out, for example, and then you just transferred £5 out of your account to someone, it's the same, isn't it?
He's saying you can't change things.
Okay, can you set aside in your bank, in your mind?
That's why I was thinking.
Virtual money.
It's a common sense.
Pakistan is already very distributed also.
I'm saying it's a common sense. I mean, set aside means you have to pay the £5, whether you pay from your account or from your pocket, from
No,
anywhere.
we need to check. It's good to check, double check with merchants.
So that means you have to pay for £5, isn't it? Because if you pay £5 to the person, for example, you come to Salah and pay everybody pay £5. That person is not going to check it personally to somewhere.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He have to transfer
Yeah.
that money into someone's account.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
And that's what we do.
Nobody can check the amount of cash and go into Pakistan or Iraq or anywhere to transfer that money to the poor, needy people.
That's
They have
why
to-
it's very important that you pay it early, because when you pay it early, you can pay it from the the account or whatever. But when it is late, so it becomes a problem. Actually, there's a problem in paying in another country. It's better to pay it in your country, in your own community. who will come to see who receives it. They have to be mu'min. But the best way you do it is, if for example you are late, then immediately put it aside and try and find a mu'min person in your neighbor community and go and give them the cash money that you set aside. This way you are definitely on the safe side. Okay? Other rules I will have to check for. Now, one final thing. What we said the niyyah was? The niyyah was qurba lillah ta'ala. Okay? To seek satisfaction of Allah and to adhere to Allah's rule. So when I pay it, during this time, it is adab. You know what adab means? Like when the opposite of qada. You know salah? In about an hour time, we will be doing maghrib salah, adab. Okay? If you passed it, you do it qada. So if you do it here, you do it adab. What if you didn't do it and you postpone it? Or what if I had from last year or many years that accumulated? The niyyah would be qurba. Notice, it is not adab and not qada. You don't do it qada. With salah, if you miss the salah, you can do qada. But with zakah, there is a problem. You can't do it qada. So the niyyah would be more general niyyah, neither adab nor qada. It's qurba lillah ta'ala. Okay. What is the amount of fitra? We say you have to pay a fitra for you and for everyone who is dependent on you. The amount of fitra is basically 3 kilograms per each person. So if you live with a wife and 2 kids, you have to pay 3 for you, 3 for your wife, 3 for each kid. Okay? That's 12 kilograms of food. The food is, they used to write...
Babies?
Sorry?
Babies as well?
Yes, babies as well. Let me quickly recap. Everyone who is dependent on you, be them an adult or a child, be them a sane or insane, free or a slave, and be them Muslim or kafir. Everyone who is dependent on you. It happens sometimes people have servants from other faiths, you have to pay for all of them. Okay? Now, the 3 kilograms of food, what kind of food? It's basically the food that people rely on to survive in that country. Wheat, barley, rice, dates, raisins, bread, these kind of things. 3 kilograms each. The zakah is the food itself, but you can pay the equivalent amount of zakah in money. You don't have to give food, but you can actually take the food from your cupboard and give it to the needy, or you can pay the amount that is equivalent to the food you want to pay. Okay, so question. Do I have to know the food, or is it like I can just ask, what is the amount of zakatul fitra this year? They say £4.80 and I pay £4.80 per each person. No, you have to know what you're paying for. It has to be, because it differs. A kilogram of rice is, I don't know, £1.65, something like that. A kilogram of dates is £12, according to last time I checked it. So it differs a lot. So you have to pay what you're paying for. You have to know what you're paying for. Keep in mind, the zakah is the food or the amount of money equivalent to the food. The zakah is not the amount of money. The zakah,
No, but it's the food that you eat, isn't it?
Commonly eat, generally eat, or most frequently eat. Is it?
yeah, but you know, some people, I know people, they choose food items that is expensive. It's the own choice.
So they've chosen the expensive one, but they've not chosen the most frequent one.
That's fine. That's fine.
So it's your choice, whichever.
Yes, I know a person, each year, he pays for himself an equivalent of 3 kilograms of the best dates, tamr majhool, which cost thousands. And for his wife and kids, he pays equivalent of 3 kilograms of rice, which is about maybe 10th of you can mix, by the way, you can mix, pay for yourself and for every dependent differently, but you can't mix within the same person. So you can't pay, like, for example, 1 kilo for rice. It has to be 3 kilograms of the same item, food item that people rely on. Okay, so here I checked a few days ago. I don't know how much you're paying, but I think £5 is more than enough, because I think it was 480 for 3 kilograms of normal rice. And it has to be food that you use. Like, don't go for the value option unless you use the value option. And you don't have to buy the extra, nice basmati unless you use it. So whatever you use normally, okay? Or the people use normally.
But you can go over it. You can go over it.
You can go as ihtiyat,
Yeah.
yes. There is something I have to say also. Sometimes you don't know exactly what item of the food, but you know that £5 would cover 3 kilograms of barley or rice. So have a general idea. It says يقصد البدلية. You know almost what the food item is. But what we don't want, is someone to say, look, Zakat al-Fitra is £5, and they pay £5 without realizing why. Where did the £5 come from? So you have to know it is equivalent of 3 kilograms of food. Okay, who should receive it? Anyone who receives zakat usually would receive it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah At-Tawbah, إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم. Okay, so the people who could receive Zakatul Fitra are the people who receive Zakah in general, who are 8 categories of people. First 2 categories, the poor and the needy. Okay, we said the poor and the needy is someone who doesn't have provisions for the next year, right? Okay. Those who don't have the means for a year to support themselves or members of their families and do not have work whereby they can earn a living. So they either don't have the money or they don't have a job that will cover the expenses of the family for the whole year. Okay, that is the first 2 categories. So you don't have to go to Marja Taqleed or his representative and say, here is my zakat for me and my family. You can pay it directly to the poor and the needy. Okay? The third group is Al-Amiruna alayha, is basically the officials who are assigned by Rasulullah or the Imam or Al-Marja to collect zakah. The people who work in, organizing zakah. They have a part of it. But you cannot pay them. It has to be the Marja of Taqleed who pays them. Okay? Let me write it down. Who receives Fitra? The poor